Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact the connector, Paul Solano, at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to #Paul Ponders. I've really enjoyed bringing you fun, informed, intriguing, and pondering podcasts. Many thanks to #PodPro Entertainment. Today's collaborating sponsor, Scott Albertson of #Project142.org, Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and Remax Renaissance Realty of Reading. Thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let #Paul Ponders begin. Welcome back, our listeners, to Paul Ponders. Thanks for being with us. A graduate of Zavarian Brothers High School, class of 1978. His name is Coach Fornaro. Congratulations on your award in the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame, Massachusetts chapter. Bravo.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's really great to have you on. And this episode is airing after the ceremony. And really, you commanded the attention of our guests and many guests in attendance. And really, what you spoke about, hard work and working with the students. Your work at Zavarian Brothers High School, I had the pleasure at one point in my career of being Director of Institutional Advancement at Malden Catholic High School. And that was between 1999 and 2003. And following the Zavarian Brothers' ideals under the studies of Theodore James Riken, and just really producing some wonderful men who went out into the world and just did wonderful things. You have embodied that with your accomplishments, but also too with the football players who have come through the ranks at Zavarian Brothers High School for your well over 35, 40 years of coaching. So if you just want to maybe touch upon what you have seen through the years with the Zavarian football players and students you've coached.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been blessed, certainly. Young men and their parents, when they decide to come to school to Zavarian and they want to participate in football, we don't make any cuts. They're all welcome, and they will learn some of those things that I spoke of earlier. And the thing is, when they come, of course, they're wide-eyed freshmen, right? And they're going to grow, and they're going to grow as young men, as football players, hopefully, and we can put out a really good product. Now, the Zavarian Brothers have Malden Catholic, as you mentioned, ourselves, and St. John's Prep in Danvers, and we're all in the Catholic Conference, and each one of us holds many things in high regard. Again, accountability and how a young man presents himself and how he's going to represent his institution, both on and off the field of play. It does go beyond wins and losses, because when the years go by, you'll remember those things. But what did you do with that? What were the things that you learned as you participated to help you become, a better man? And we always feel that's very important. Rivalries aside, I had the great pleasure of bumping into Joe Lang, who had been the head coach at Malden Catholic for 100 years. We were at a passing scrimmage, and he was there, and he was talking to me. He was kind of contemplating his son. Joe Jr. is the head coach down at, St. George's in Newport, Rhode Island. And Joe has moved down there with his wife, and it was just great to see him. And he's already, now they're out 53 years, I believe, they've been out of school. But Joe was a teacher at Zavarian when I was a student. They didn't have him, and then he left, and they ended up, being over Malden Catholic and becoming the head coach. And And from there, he moved on to Milton Academy and finally at Middlesex School up in Concord. But he always will talk about the alumni, the guys he played with, uh, Mr. Byron Reed, who was the art teacher, Brother Bede, one of the original Zavarian Brothers. Actually, he coached football back when there were a lot of religious in the schools. And it was great to talk to him and harken back on some of the stories from when he was there and graduated in the class of 1967. And it's good to still see that the things that he learned help embody what he has become as a and our granddad and just a wonderful, wonderful human being.
Oh, without a doubt. And when I hark back to those days when I worked at Malden Catholic, and I used to visit Zavarian, and I used to visit Mr. Lally, who was your principal, and Brother Dan Scala, the headmaster at the time. I was just blown away by how similar the schools were, and what they really stood for. So I applaud you for all that great work, and not only on the football field, but also in the world of strength and conditioning. I know you do a lot of work with the students these days on strength and conditioning, and I was very active in the YMCA world with the mind, body, and spirit. But what about the sound mind that one has to have? How is that important?
It's very important. Anybody can just say, "Oh, I want to go lift weights. Or I want to get strong," type of thing. Um, and as you said, sound mind in a sound body. You have to have discipline in order to do things the way they should be done, and take little increments of progress. At first, it's kind of like a baby learning to walk. Those first few steps are wobbly, then they're great. Well, then it takes them a while later on to run. With lifting, whether it's for just recreational or more along the lines where I have them over there for athletic important in athletic improvement, you have to have that discipline, all right, and that mindset that, look, at this is not a end to a means, but it's a means to an end. And, you have to be in tune with what you're doing. Otherwise, it can go awry. And if you get results really fast, I always tell them, you're going to plateau. It's natural. That's what happens. And I was fortunate to, Mr. Lowy, he was doing the strength training when I was there. We had a little universal that was probably in a 10 by 12 room, not the fantastic weight room that we're fortunate enough to have now. Um, but having a sound mind and keeping yourself, you know, in line on what you're doing and being able to follow direction and doing it the way it should be done is very, very important.
I really agree with you on that. And if I hark back to a past ceremony we had with the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame Massachusetts chapter, one of your former players, Mr. Greg Camella, spoke about that, about how he was so disciplined and sound mind. And he gave credit to, I believe, Coach Stevenson at the time. I'm trying to do also memory, and his assistant coaches. And you were one of his assistant coaches, and you work closely with him to get to that NFL level.
Well, when Greg came to us, we want to talk about sound mind and having a plan. He viewed high school as a stepping stone to college, and then college would be a stepping stone to the NFL. Now, we all have hopes and dreams, but he really worked at it. His senior year, he played football, he played basketball, and he ran spring track. He came in and lifted in the basketball season at 6:30 in the morning. He would go about 45 minutes, and we would taper it back a little bit. And then, because basketball practice did not start till 5:30 for the varsity, we had a jugs gun that the late Don Hasselbeck had given us, and he would go outside and catch footballs for 45 minutes to an hour after school. In the springtime, he was running. I'm not sure the track coach really wanted him to do this, but he was running extra in the mornings. He had those resistant parachutes that at the time were just nobody had really had them. You didn't see them anywhere. His dad played at Boston College. His mom was an athlete. His sisters are athletes, and have that purposefulness. That, okay, here's my goal. What do I need to achieve it? And again, having that sound mind. And when people would see him on the basketball court, I said, "Whoa, that boy's put in some work."
And speaking of Don Hasselbeck, I remember watching him when I was growing up, and watching Russ Francis and Don Hasselbeck. But being a BC alum and a BC season ticket football holder, I got to watch Tim Hasselbeck and Matt Hasselbeck. And you coached both of those players. So what was it like coaching those players? But also, I'm sure Dad Don, when he wasn't traveling with the Patriots and other teams, he was probably out there at practice, maybe coaching along the
Well, I'll tell you,
sidelines.
we were very fortunate. We've had a number of young men whose fathers played in the NFL, Tyler Grogan, Jamie Lenkaitis. We even had Bob Capadonna, who was in the early 60s. And to a man, never once were they ever like Budinskis. Now, when Matt would come off the field, or Tim, quite often Don was there by the gate for a few words of encouragement. And even Tim Fox, he would sit in the stands and have a newspaper. And every time out or between quarters, he picked up the paper because he didn't want people coming over. And that's great because it's one thing to have the young man there, but to have a parent who played in the NFL who then feels the need, and none of them did, by the way, that they're going to come and straighten things out. They looked at a lot of schools. They chose to come to Zavarian. They trusted us as a school and also as a staff. But they were the Hasselbecks were just a joy, and what a wonderful family. And unfortunate that Don has passed. And I was fortunate enough to go down to Tennessee, and you want to talk about a family of faith, and that's one of the reasons. And it very well, you'd have to ask Betsy, probably the main reason why they sent their boys, Matthew, Timmy, and Nathaniel to Zavarian. We're a faith-based community. Look, we want to win just like anybody else, but that's very, very important. It was very important to Don and very important to Betsy. But any of those young men that we've had, they've all been a pleasure, and I wish we had a few more of them.
Now, as we start to wind down and all, I know you have this newest induction into the National Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame. But I believe back in 2023, you were named New England Patriots Coach of the Year.
Yes. Yeah, it was, that was a shocker as well. And one of the things that was really nice about that was Andre Tippett, who worked for the Patriots, came to the school and presented me that, and Andre's son Colby played for us. And, part of that is the school gets a nice little check. You get to go to a Patriots game. You get to go in the bubble there and have, you have lunch and whatnot. But I was also at that time nominated for the National High School of the Year. I didn't win, and I think they take representatives. They don't take one from every state and put them in a pool, but I think they do it regionally. And just to see Mr. Tippett, who's always been a great supporter of our school and certainly of our program, that was quite an honor. Quite an honor.
That is awesome, awesome. Now, I remember just to hark back to a couple of weeks ago when we were at Anthony's at your induction ceremony. I know you and Coach John DiBiase were having a couple of joking moments about all the rivalries you had on the field when you used to play Everett High School way back when, BITD, and of course now he's over at Catholic Memorial as the head football coach and all. But, yeah, Coach, for our listeners in Paul Pondersland, Coach John DiBiase received the first annual Tony the Champ DeMarco Award for sportsmanship and love of education. And, and it was a really great presentation, great acceptance speech that he gave as well. But tell us about your rivalries with Everett High and also with Catholic Memorial through the years.
Well, I've been fortunate to know Coach DiBiase for a number of years, and I actually knew of him when, you know, he was at Weston High School, and then ended up back at Everett, where he had gone to high school, and watched all that program because we didn't match up either in the regular season or in the playoffs at that point in time, and eventually we did. And he obviously he's a great coach. He's a great maker of young men, and you knew that if you didn't play at your best, things were not going to go well for you that afternoon or that evening. super well prepared, super physical football players, intelligent, and they're going to, fight till the last click comes off the clock. And he would accept nothing else from his players. And that feeds upon itself. One of the wonderful things for the public school folks is they've got those little boys in the end zone that watch and see, and they want to be either like their big brother or their neighbor. And, they embrace that. And Coach DiBiase has a culture, and the culture that he has the young people do is, hard work. Hard work will conquer a lot of things. And a lot of people may think that he's, very stern. Well, he's stern when I think every coach is to a certain extent when need be, but he's a loving coach. And you can see that just with the players that he's had. There's one on TV right now, Isaiah Likely, who played for him at Everett. But the number of, college scholarship athletes that he helped produce is phenomenal. And he was a great basketball coach as well. He's just a great coach, and a great man. And so happy to hear that he was receiving the honor that night. And that's fantastic.
Coach, I want to thank you again for being on Paul Ponders. It's really over the past few months while working with you during this nice time frame of you being honored by the National Anti-American Sports Hall of Fame. I've really come to know just a wonderful person whose extensive knowledge and experience of coaching, of leadership, of education has really been so key. So as we wind down, what is the one message that you would like to leave the future leaders of tomorrow as far as how life should be?
There are going to be days that you're going to wonder, is it worth it? Is the hard work that you did, the perseverance to go, is it worth it? And the answer is yes. It's worthwhile. It's worthwhile for yourself. It's worthwhile for your family if you have one. And as I said earlier, anything worthwhile is going to be hard work. But when you get there, the rewards are going to be fantastic.
With that, Coach Fornaro, #Indeed. I trust that you have enjoyed Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, and informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PS&All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment, Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well. #Indeed.